Coach, it seemed like Nate Noel and Marcus Carroll were both kind of getting some involvement pre-snap motion and then also in the receiving game. Just kind of what do you think of both their abilities in those aspects?
Yeah, we got some work to do, but they have the skill set that can fit what we're going to do, which we're going to flex those guys out and throw them the football. And all they have to do is just catch checkdowns, really. That's all Cody did. He didn't catch many vertical passes down the field. So we're encouraged by the spring that they had. You guys didn't see as much today as obviously as we've seen, but we're encouraged by what we saw from those two.
Do you plan to implement a double pass in the regular season at all, like y'all did today twice, I believe?
Yeah, we have one more. We had one more. Since I was the head coach, I should have overruled Kirby, who overruled me, because I said, let's do it. He said, we're too close. But we have a few more. They're a little easier to call when there's not much really on the line, I would think.
Who are some of the guys that stood out to you today?
Just for our team or both teams?
Both teams.
Caleb Flagg, I think today may have been the 7th or 8th interception of the spring. I mean, like, who does that? He has great instincts. From an offensive perspective, great instincts, and he's got great ball skills. Because for some DBs, that would be 7 PBUs. Because he couldn't catch it, but he has great ball skills. We're encouraged there. And I think, Josh was the MVP, is that right?
Yep. Caleb and Josh.
Oh, Caleb. Oh, yeah. So Josh has had a great spring. Josh Manning is from Kansas City. He's an explosive athlete, but he hadn't really played a lot of receiver, and his development is in progress, but he's had a great spring. He'll play very well for us here in the future. So we're encouraged about Josh.
What are some things that Josh does well that you've really seen his growth over the past year now, entering the fall and an expanded role in the offense?
Josh just shows up to work every day. He's a competitor. He's a lunch pail type guy. He's not flashy. He just consistently makes plays, and he just shows up every single day. Some guys get injured and miss a couple of days of practice. Not Josh. He's been here, and what Coach Drink does on Mondays during the season is that we have like a little walkthrough, and then the young guys would practice. The freshmen that were essentially redshirt type freshmen, and Josh began to flourish there. He began to make plays for us, and he just progressed. He was a 25-foot long jumper in high school. He has a state record, so he has some explosiveness, had lots of ability. He's just I told him today he's gonna be a good football player for us for a long time.
And having such a deep receiver room and a lot of athletes you mentioned like Josh, how do you there's only one ball to feed, only one pass, and kind of per play. How do you continue to expand the ball around to a little more?
Yeah, Kirby has done a really good job of spreading it around, and that makes us tough to defend. But we need depth, and Josh adds quality depth. And we were real fortunate last year as a team. Our offensive line was intact the whole season. We played the whole season with one quarterback, one tailback. How often does it happen? So we have to build depth in those instances when the first line guys can't play.
Yesterday, Brady said that one of his most anticipated parts of the spring game was getting to pass the ball around some of the younger parts of the receiving corps, not just Manning, but also Marquise Johnson and Brett Norfleet. Did we see a lot of what that's going to look like today?
Well, maybe not today, but we saw it all spring. Today the teams are intermixed and we haven't really played together as much, so continuity isn't there. So it won't look as good as it has looked in the spring, but we've gotten the ball around a lot. Luper had an injury, had a little ankle, so he missed some practices there, and coach was able to move Mookie inside, and Mookie Cooper flourished inside, so now he's very versatile. So we got a lot of weapons, and Kirby Moore knows how to use them.
Coach, after the first double pass from Marquise, he was jumping around happily, and then after the game, when y'all won, he ran around the gold sideline very happily too. How important is not just Marquise, the player, going to be for y'all in the fall, but Marquise, the person as well?
Yeah, Marquise was open all day too. He was wide open. They're always open, so Marquise is always open, but he was, and we couldn't get him the ball a couple of times. But I said it before, Marquise is going to be single covered next year because of the other receivers that we have, and he'll exploit it. He's probably the fastest player in college football. He ran a 10.18 100 meters and a 20.5 200 meters as a senior in high school. So they got to play two over the top of him, or if they man him, then you'll see him going deep.
Coach, just from your perspective from today, we saw a lot of disruption up front from the defensive lines on both sides. Just kind of what are your thoughts on kind of how a lot of those guys played?
You know, a lot of it's going to look really good because the offensive lines aren't intact. You know, but when you put our 5 offensive linemen up, you know, those guys, Johnny Walker on one side, Joe Moore on the other side, and then, you know, Darius, what's Darius' last name? Darius Smith. You know, we were like, who is this guy? You know, he's making plays all spring. So that's a position where when defenses are really, really good, you get pressure from those defensive ends and you don't have to blitz. So that's what we're going to need. We're deep there. I know we may add some players, a couple more pieces on defense. Coach Drinker talked about it, a couple more on offense. We'll see how it goes. But we like our football team as it stands right now in March.
Back to Josh Manning and Alex and Marquise Johnson, you can add technical to that list as well. Second year receivers with a lot of experience ahead of them. What's the key as a coaching staff to getting them back and encouraging their chances coming?
You know, Coach Peeler does a phenomenal job with the receivers, and there are a lot of moving parts, and it's really fast. And you usually see a lot of growth, you know, in the second year, like Luper had, you know, from first year to second year. He moved from outside to inside and had a lot of growth. You know, guys, there's a lot of defense, so you got to navigate the coverage and be on the page with the quarterback. So, you know, we have a lot of work to do, and Coach Drink will talk about how important the next phase of our training is from now until June, where our players will throw and catch a lot on their own, and we'll have OTAs toward the end, the beginning of the summer. But we just scratched the surface of where we need to be as a team. But our receiver room is as deep as I've ever seen. And the beauty of it is they're as unselfish as I've ever seen. And that really starts at the top with Theo Weiss and Luper Burton. They're very unselfish football players. They want to win first.
What can you take from, I know there wasn't tackling to the ground, but what can you take today from about the way that Nate and Marcus ran the ball? Are there certain things you can't take away even with it not at full speed?
We have to look at the totality of the spring to really evaluate everyone. So it's just not from today. I know most people only see today, but we've seen the entire month. I think today's practice 12. So we've seen 12 practices, and you know, as coaches, we just say we have a lot of work to do to get where we need to be. So that's the mentality that we'll have moving forward. We have a couple more practices next week, and then we have a lot of work to do. I think Coach Drink will tell you he brought he unveiled the Cotton Bowl championship ring, but his message to the team was what Tom Brady said about which was his most popular ring of all. He said, "No, it's the next one." So that's our mentality. Like, yeah, this is good. It's the next one. So our sights are set on next season, and we know it's a process. And spring ball is the first step, well, the second step in that process after winter conditioning.
How do you think Logan Reichert handled the right guard spot today and throughout the spring?
Well, Coach Jones could answer it better, but Coach Jones does a great job with those guys up front. There's a lot of offense and a lot of defense. So for a young player like Logan, there'll be a point where it'll just slow down for him and it kind of clicks for him so he can see things slow down. But right now, things are moving pretty fast for him. But he's got Connor Tollison playing next to him who can tell him. Connor is one of the smartest players on our football team. He can tell him what to do, but Logan's going to be a great football player for us at some point. But it's really hard. That's one of the hardest positions to play is offensive line early because things happen so fast up front. Guy standing in front of you, then he's gone. So, and he's right on your nose. So, but Logan's going to be. He's probably Bruce Feldman will probably have him on his freaks list at some point. I mean, he's 365 pounds or so, and he ran 19 miles per hour this off season. So when it all clicks, he'll be a good football player for us.
From what you've seen through 12 practice, Nate Noel and Marcus Carroll, the purpose ahead?
They've had a really good transition, and it's easier for them to transition because they played a lot of football. So we don't have any starters yet. They're still competing for their job, but you're going to see Marcus Carroll and Nate Noel early in the season. I'm pretty good at kind of a politically correct head coach answer. Right?
Anything else, Coach Luke?